Greetings, Crusaders. It is I, Marshall Beaumont, and, well, here's a question for you. How often were you told that Star Wars, specifically, well, okay, to specify, Disney Star Wars, not canon, the fan fiction, Disney Star Wars, was incredibly profitable and secured Disney all the money they'd ever need and, earned back all the money they spent on acquiring Lucasfilm? How often were you told that since Star Wars was acquired by Disney? Well, here's the thing. It was always like, up in the air because we were not given actual numbers of what Disney Star Wars earned. Well, guess what? Now we were. We have the actual profit numbers for the Disney Star Wars films. Note that potential profit numbers for Disney Plus are not reported, but Disney Plus operated as of last reported at a loss of 11 billion. 11.7 to be precise. So yes, we don't know the actual numbers for the TV shows, but for the films, we have The Force Awakens earning a profit of 500.2 million. Rogue One, a profit of 258.4 million. The Last Jedi, a profit of 324 million. Rise of Skywalker, a profit of 48.3 million. And Solo, a Star Wars story, a profit of negative 103.3 million. Yeah, no, that one didn't earn shit, but that's besides the point. So we have the actual profit numbers, but here's the thing though. You were always told, Disney earned back its money that it put into Star Wars. But what you gotta, calculate now. What did Disney put into Star Wars? How much did they actually spend? The popular floated number is $4.05 billion. That is what they spent to acquire Lucasfilm. But that was not the only number they were paying. They were paying to produce films. They were paying to build amusement parks. They were paying to build a hotel that closed, by the way. And we have those numbers, and we've had those numbers for a while. The Disney Star Wars trilogy. Let's start there. The Force Awakens cost. I've seen numbers touted between 447 million and 500 million. I'll lowball this one at 447. The Last Jedi cost 300 million to make. The Rise of Skywalker cost 417 million to make. Rogue One cost 200 million. Solo cost 275 million. So that right there, that's a lot of money. But it goes deeper. The amusement parks, both of them, they made two of them, cost $1 billion each, a total of $2 billion. The Star Wars hotel cost $1 billion. At least that's what, that is what is believed of cost. Disney said lower than that. I, for one, do not believe Disney in this case. So, yeah. Disney spent $9.6 billion, if my math is correct. And please note, I'm dyscalculia. I'm terrible at math. So, yes, but from what I added up, Star Wars cost Disney $9.6 billion. And if you factor in Disney Plus, which operated at a loss of $11.7 billion up until it apparently magically started turning a profit in 2025, which I find questionable, then Disney lost $21.4 billion on Star Wars. That's how much they spent. We don't know. I couldn't find numbers for in the individual Star Wars series, but again, they sank 11.7 trying to make Disney Plus work. So, because we can't find the individual numbers, it's fairly safe to just lump it all into this 11.7 billion number. So again, 9.6 billion if you're not including Disney Plus, 21.4 if you're including Disney Plus. billion with a B. And how much did all of this combine? How much did all these Star Wars films combine to in terms of profits? Well, 1.2 billion. Congrats, they knocked out, if we're lowballing it, a ninth of the cost of what they spent. Do I even need to elucidate, like, with words how awful this is? How much of a failure this is? How much, how they touted for years, the go woke, go broke is a cope, guys. Disney Star Wars earned billions at the box office. And note that this was always reported with the assumption that box office gross equal pure profit, which is not how Hollywood works. Because always remember, the theaters take their cut. And how much the cut the theater takes is also different based on country. So it's not like, universal across the world how much of a cut the theater takes. And then you have to pay everyone involved. You also have to factor in, marketing. Because remember, these are just the production costs of the films that I listed before marketing comes in. Marketing is usually can be anywhere from like twice to 2.5 times the budget of the film. So, yeah, Disney spent a fuck ton of money on Star Wars. If we're factoring in advertising budgets, they're probably pushing 10 billion before we consider Disney Plus. But I wasn't willing to do more math at that point. But yeah, if you need any proof that go woke, go broke is real and continues to be real, just look at this. This is an astronomical disaster, the likes of which went not only unreported as it was unfolding ever since, Lucasfilm was purchased by Disney, but was straight up lied about in the media. Like, they lied about the profitability of Star Wars. And remember, people are always like, oh, but the toys. And it's like, okay, like, let's be real here. Disney toys have been sitting rotting on shelves through holiday seasons ever since The Force Awakens came out. Nobody wanted to buy that stuff. Nobody. It was one of the most widely reported scandals of Star Wars in the beginning. I shouldn't even have to point it out, but there will be people who argue it. Like shelves of Disney Star Wars products. There's Star Wars products in general since the acquisition. On holidays, on Black Fridays, rotting, unbought. No, Disney Star Wars has earned Disney nothing. And that's before we factor in, the failure of Marvel. I mean, I like I said, I'm not willing to do more math, but you could probably do the math and learn just how, probably at this point, I would wager the MCU has completely evaporated all of its earnings over that original, decade where it was like, making money hand over fist. And that's not factoring in films that probably flopped, like, what is it? Captain Marvel, where there were reports of completely empty theaters that were also apparently sold out, where, Disney literally buying tickets to their own films to, inflate the apparent popularity. That was a conspiracy theory going around. But I think ultimately the point I'm trying to illustrate with all this is less about Disney Star Wars being a failure. I mean, we knew that. We knew that, in our hearts that it was a failure, just because you can't really combine this idea that it's successful with reality. We just have the actual numbers now. It's more the point that these companies, Disney, Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, Blizzard, Games Workshop, are always talking about, oh, we're so profitable, we're so successful. They're always showing you their financial reports that basically lie to you. Remember how Blizzard talked about how World of Warcraft is more successful than ever, we're more successful than ever, right until it all fell apart? And that was before the sexual assault scandals, I'll point out. That was before that. Blizzard failed before that. The scandals just made it worse and put them in a position to be bought out by Microsoft. So, yeah, these companies always lie to you. They're lying that they're profiting. They're lying that they've been lying that wokeness works for decades now, and now they can't cover it up anymore. Now we're at a point where they can't hide it, and their narrative is falling apart. And frankly, I feel like we're going to see a lot of cultural juggernauts within the West begin to effectively, finally, begin to fade into the background and begin to take their proper place as what they really are. That is, culturally irrelevant financial failures that no longer have their position as these pillars of culture, effectively backed up by a corrupt media that's willing to lie about the fact people, don't like them, or lie about the fact people like them now is a better way to put it. People don't like them. People don't like Star Wars anymore. I feel like Star Wars may one day bounce back just off the name alone, but other things generally won't. Like I bring up Blizzard, World of Warcraft, which was the MMORPG for a long time, effectively just kind of exists now. Marvel, I don't even need to mention. When was the last time Marvel made waves outside people laughing at it? We're seeing the cracks form with Games Workshop now, and honestly, and we've seen things now where the Demon Slayer film did, absolutely insane at the box office. Like, and we're going to see probably similar with the Chainsaw Man film. We're seeing the only still kicking really profitable, movie franchise is the fucking Monsterverse, Godzilla, and not to mention Godzilla -1. And then how well it did at the box office, we're seeing the East overshadow the West. And like, what's it tell you when fucking Neza 2 was as successful as it was at the box office, and fucking essentially the only reason you probably never even heard of that film is because nobody reported on it. So yeah, we're seeing it. We're seeing in real time the collapse of the Western cultural hegemony, and the narrative can't be upheld anymore. And we're in for, unless these companies are willing to shape up and start to fix their shit, we're in for dark times in terms of cultural dominance as a nation. And as our part of the world has dominated culture for so long, now we're seeing it die. We're seeing Western relevance in culture, and especially American relevance, die in real time. And you got to question where we're going to go now, as not only does the corporate media propped up concept of wokeness being successful finally crumble, but as the ripple effect begins to spread out and it begins to crumble in other countries. Because the clock is ticking on this shit in Japan, while China and Korea never picked it up. So we're in for interesting times, everyone. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that topic. I'm Marshall Bohemond. Take care, everyone, and have a good day. Later.